You talk about where we're headed. I want to also talk about judges because we have cowardice in this country. I see now judges afraid to do what's right. I see state legislators afraid to do what's right. And it put President Trump in a very terrible position this election. If the fraud evidence is true and it proves to be true, he could have had this election stolen from him, Governor.
If the fraud evidence proves to be true, right? Listen again. If the fraud evidence proves to be true. Now, this is what he says after he calls the judges cowards. He calls the judges cowards. And then he says, if the evidence turns out to be true, well, the judges that said that there is no evidence, that there is no truth to it, you just called cowards. And then you're saying there is no if the evidence turns out to be true. This is the propaganda that's being put out in conservative media. This is this Orwellian spin that they're doing, right? And one of the key things they do is project. Right? They project their own heart onto other people. And I'll let you watch a little bit more of this so you can see this for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. It's baffling what we see in terms of the lack of courage. And, that's tragic for our country. We do see so many sheep just following those who I think are giving them the perception that things will be made easier for them if they'll just follow these Democrat leaders like AOC.
Now it's almost amazing at what it is she does here. She's talking about people having a lack of courage to stand up to what's right. Right? And what they're talking about is the courts in the Supreme Court who all rejected Trump's lawsuits because they dared to reject Trump's lawsuits based on the fact that they had no evidence. Now these people lacked courage. And this is what she's saying. She's saying that they're just sheep following politicians. These respected judges, conservative and liberal, that they're sheep for following the law. This is what Sarah Palin is saying, right? She's saying that they just want to follow some leader, like they just want to follow Trump. They don't want to respect laws and tradition and the Constitution and whatnot. Like she tries to say, constitutional conservatives. What are you talking about? This is the constitutional process playing out, and the courts, the third branch of the government, said there is no there.
Clip that you just played of hers, holy moly. Do people hear what she's saying? She's saying anybody who's working hard, you're out there working, you shouldn't be living in poverty. And of course, people like me were saying, well, duh, AOC, then quit taking their money, those who are working so hard, and giving it to able-bodied people who are choosing not to work. The things that these Democrat leaders are saying today, they're so twisted. It's so Orwellian. Who would have thought that 1984, the book was going to be their playbook?
Unlike an ordinary church pastor, Joel Osteen does not live a low-key life. Instead, he's a televangelist with an estimated net worth of $100 million. But just what does he do with all of his earnings?
Televangelist Joel Osteen's megachurch in Houston received a $4.4 million Paycheck Protection Program loan. The loan received by Osteen's Lakewood Church was the first time federal lawmakers provided direct financial assistance for a house of worship, the Houston Chronicle reported. As part of the Federal CARES Act that gave coverage to employers to pay for employee wages and other operational costs and needs during the coronavirus pandemic, Lakewood Church received the third highest loan in the Houston area, according to the Houston Business Journal, citing federal data.
We know what's going on. We have to talk more about the solutions, Grant. And part of the solution is an infiltration and an influence in pop culture. That's where common sense constitutional conservatives need to get in there and make a difference, because everything is downstream from pop culture, politics, the economy, the way things are marketed. We got to get back out there, not just preaching, to the choir and the four square walls. Get out there in pop culture and change it.
Yeah, absolutely. If we do that, I mean, they've been brilliant about weaponizing Hollywood and messaging for their side, and I think that's a brilliant idea. Governor Palin, I wish I had more time with you because
Understand what she's saying about they need to go to pop culture. And the dude agrees, right? He says, yes, that they've done a good job at weaponizing Hollywood, right? And so that's a good idea. And so, in a sense of what they're saying, weaponizing their message through pop culture, that's propaganda, right? And again, if they can't win the argument on the merits, on logic, reason, facts, and evidence, then they'll just create their own media. Do the Orwellian thing that she's projecting on others.